Hello, hello, hello. Welcome once again to another edition of the Lion's Den, where we are restoring kings and queens one conversation at a time. Boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. Today is such a special day for me. I know if you've been watching the shows that I've had previously, you're starting to see that I'm starting out with shows that have a great amount of sentimental value to me. I am talking to people who mean a tremendous amount to me, people who've had a tremendous impact in my life, one way or another. And today is certainly going to be no different. I've had the great pleasure of playing for a few legendary coaches. I played early on in church league. Gerald Wilson played for St. Paul's. You know, that's where I started playing basketball. Gerald Wilson, Coach Wilson taught us a lot. I became friends with some guys that I would play from middle school, grade school, all the way through our high school years. And we would form a tremendous bond and became a very strong team as we reached our high school age. And a lot of people wanted to see exactly what we would do because they knew we played together for so long. I also played for this living legend, Coach Robert Bob Lester. And we're going to talk about that because I mentioned him in my book, Trust the Process, Embrace the Journey. So we're going to start with that conversation. But I can't leave out another legend I played for briefly, Coach Cleo Hill at Essex County Community College several years ago, back after high school, shortly after high school in '88. And he really was a very animated guy, a great guy. But I have to just add that I thought Coach Lester had a temper on the court. Coach Hill made Coach Lester look real mild-mannered. Real funny story I have to tell you guys. We were scrimmaging somebody, and it was one of the guys playing on the team did something wrong. Most coaches get angry, might slam a book down on the sideline, call timeout. That's standard. I get that. That's what I was used to with Coach Lester. But Coach Cleo Hill, he wouldn't call timeout. He would just walk out on the court in the middle of the game and grab you by your jersey and pull you off the court. That's the difference that I'm talking about. But and then lastly, my second guest today is going to be Coach Johanna Wright. And I think I'm kind of late on knowing this phenomenal woman. I was introduced to her some time ago by my fourth grade teacher, Miss Anita Mack, who I love dearly. And we connected instantly. And she's been a great friend of mine, personal friend of mine, for several years since. So without further ado, I'd like to bring on my coach who taught me a lot along the way. And I think anyone who he has touched in his illustrious career feels the same way about this man. I'd like to welcome you guys, Coach Bob Lester.
How you doing, man?
Fantastic. And as I mentioned, it is just such a pleasure to lay eyes on your face. I haven't seen you. I think I came back to visit Montclair High one time when I was in college, and I was really looking for Miss Jones because I thank Miss Jones for being so hard on us in Black literature, because I went to HBCU and I learned a great appreciation for everything that she put us through, because we feared Miss Jones' class. But I ran into you. I think I might have saw Mr. Bowen, who I love dearly as well. And that was the last time I saw you. So that was like '88. So I haven't seen you in a very long time. And you look fantastic, man. Tell me, what's been going on with you, man?
Nothing much, Scott. We moved from, I retired in 2003 from Montclair. And it took me like, I retired in February. By October of 2003, I had moved down south. I got out of New Jersey real quick.
Yeah.
I just got tired of shoveling snow. Got tired of cold weather. And it was getting so crowded up there. So I moved south. We went first to South Carolina, where we stayed about 10 years. And where we were at in Spartanburg, found out that it wasn't very much to do in South Carolina. So
Right.
the last 5 years, we've been in the Atlanta area. I know on my Facebook page it says I live in Atlanta, but I don't live in the city of Atlanta. I'm sure you're familiar with Atlanta.
Right.
I live about 25 miles northwest, a place called Powder Springs. But if you live within a 25 to 50-mile radius of the city of Atlanta, they say you live in Atlanta. So,
Right.
that's
Yeah, basically.
where I am. But I've had a few health issues, but other than that, hey, Scott, I'm still here. I'm still here.
Hey, and I'm glad you're still here. And I just always think that legends, people who make tremendous contributions to the communities around them, like they have to be celebrated while they're on top of this planet, walking around, breathing air. You know what I'm saying? A lot of people get celebrated once they pass away. But I'm so excited that I'm having this opportunity to celebrate you and once again let you know personally how much I appreciate all that you did for me. And I talked to a lot of former players that played with you, and we all feel the same way. We all feel the same way. I want to just read what I say about you in my book, Trust the Process, Embrace the Journey. To start, I say, and this part is more about me right here. It says, in high school, I played basketball and proved to be a pretty decent player. The downfall was that I was a horrible student academically. One of the most embarrassing things that ever happened to me was the time I was put on academic suspension and had to sit out for part of the basketball season. I was one of many stars on our Montclair high school team. So for that reason, there was a full-page article telling the world about my failure. This was one of the many lessons I would learn, that with great talent comes great expectations. And with that comes a lot of room for disappointment if you fall short. That really shook me because, most of our failures, a lot of times we can kind of minimize, put to the side, not tell anybody, I'm going to tell you this, but don't say. But this was in the news, in the Montclair Times. You know what I'm saying? It was no place for me to run. And it was a very hard lesson to learn in that way. Have you spoken to kids, throughout the years about things like this, whether it's basketball or other sports or what have you, the real importance of being academically sound? And I'm sure that you've seen some students along the way that had so much talent, but just weren't academically sound and could never have the opportunity to show what they could do.
Yeah, that was always a big thing with me, Scott. You've got to be academically prepared. And, I established some rules. And I guess we'll talk about it later, but both of us almost got caught up in enforcing one of those rules. But I was a person who believed that if you're going to have rules, you've got to enforce them. And any exception to a rule nullifies the rule. So, making exceptions is a very dangerous thing because others are looking at you, and just because you are one of the top players, if you don't enforce that rule with one of your top players, then they're going to say, well, he didn't do it for this person. Why are you going to do it for me?
Right.
So, but academics was always an important thing for me. I was like you in the sense that I didn't realize how important it was when I was in high school.
Mm-hmm.
And when I left high school, I only played my senior year in high school. I went to a junior college, and even when I got to junior college, I didn't realize the importance of academics until my second year there. That's actually, when I woke up after my freshman year, the grades I got my second year was actually what allowed me to be able to get to Montclair State.
Right.
Because when I got there for the interview at Montclair State, the advisor looked at me or looked at my grades and said, "You know what? I don't think you can make it here." And so I said, "Well, sir, please look at my second year. Look at the progress that I've made, because I went from almost academic probation in my first year, which I didn't play first year because of an injury, to a 4.0 average in my second year."
Mm-hmm.
You know, I just, something hit me. I don't know what it was, Scott. Maybe you can inform everybody about what hit you, but I know, what hit me was, man, if you don't get this together, you're not going to be here any longer.
Right.
And I really enjoyed playing basketball, but in order to play basketball, you had to have the grades. So
Right.
it finally did hit me and never became a problem. And I tried to transfer that information onto the players that I coached and also taught in the classrooms. Don't take this lightly. Get the best grades that you possibly get, because somewhere down the line, it's going to mean a whole lot to you.
Yeah, definitely. For me, I learned more about that situation after the fact. As I mentioned, I came to the South to go to a HBCU. I went to Livingstone College. Robert Calloway, one of your former players, he was like a big brother to me there. And I went from being in high school, like I was used to getting C's and D's and F's on occasion. I mean, that was just my life. I was used to that, and I made it work the best way. I had my classes that I accelerated in. But when I went to Livingstone, going to HBCU changed my life, because I was learning about things that were relevant to me as a Black man. And I was just so interested in it. And I mean, I absorbed everything around me. I was surrounded by all these Black folks and learning about great Black people that you don't learn about in high school. You learn about those people during Black History Month, the shortest month of the year, of course. So I went from being a horrible student academically in high school to being on the dean's list most of the semesters I was at Livingstone College. And it taught me that, like, I am intelligent. I just was learning stuff about I wasn't interested in, So, it was a good situation for me, and things were great from that point on. But let me read you the real inspiration behind this interview. I write, another life-changing moment in my high school sports career was the time that my coach, the legendary Bob Lester, sat me on the bench for not making practice the day before a playoff game as we pursued the state championship in 1986. To add insult to injury, Morgan State University was interested in recruiting me, and the head coach, Nathaniel Frazier, was there along with my mother, who rarely was able to attend my games. I was in such a zone and was so ready to play that night. It seemed like every shot I took in warm-ups was dead on. At that time, I had no idea I was about to sit on the bench for the first 3 quarters as well as most of the fourth. As we were down just a couple of points, my teammate playing my position fouled out, and there was nobody else who could play my position. As the crowd began chanting, "Put Scott in," my coach yelled down the bench to me and said, and I never forget this moment, you said, "See what you do? See what you do when you don't show up." That scowl on your face, man. And as I sat there, screaming with tears streaming down my face, he motioned to me to check in the game. I had a lot to prove with less than 3 minutes. As the clock wound down, my teammate Erwin Sampson stole the ball and passed it to me for a thunderous dunk on a player, Chris Gatlin, who would eventually go on to have a very successful career in the NBA, and we won the game. I honestly wasn't sure that I even made the basket until I heard the tremendous applause from the crowd. Not only did I redeem myself, but most importantly, it taught me the importance of showing up for your team and what happens when you don't. I've continued to carry this lesson with me all of my life. Tell me what you were thinking and how you were feeling during that time where you made the decision to teach the whole entire team a lesson by my actions.
Well, there's a whole lot in there, Scott. I don't even know if we'll have time to discuss it all, but Nat Frazier, let's go real quick. Nat Frazier, there's a very interesting story with Nat. And because I was almost the coach at Morgan State when I was at East Orange High School.
Wow.
Because believe it or not, they wanted to fire Nat Frazier because he, for whatever reason, I don't know. So I had gone down for my interview, and they said, "Okay, the job is yours." But I think Coach Frazier, something happened. He took some legal action, got his job back. Now, Coach Frazier was great. He had Coach Marvin Webster. I don't know if you remember Marvin Webster, who played for the Seattle Supersonics when they did very well. I believe they won a championship. I'm not quite sure, NBA championship. But anyway,
Right.
what happened was this. Remember I told you earlier in our short conversation that you're going to have rules, you're going to have to enforce them. Now, and any exception to a rule nullifies a rule. I hated that you missed practice for a number of reasons. Because one, you were such an integral part of that team. We were a unit, a cohesive unit. You know that.
Right.
I was so proud of that team because I could go into practice, Scott, let you guys practice for an hour and a half. And the rest of the time, I said, okay, you guys just shoot and work on the game. Because you guys, you came from as juniors, you did quite well. Then as seniors, you guys are ready, as the record indicated. And when you missed practice, it was like, you didn't just hurt me. You hurt that entire team.
Right. Now, let me interject. I have to say this because I never really had an opportunity to tell you. When I would miss practice, I guess I don't know if it was my reputation, what I personify. I don't know what it was. But anytime I missed practice, it was always thought that I was with some girl somewhere. That was not the case. I also was into my hot rods and my 66 Mustangs and stuff. As I recall, I really got some new parts from my car, and I decided I wanted to put these parts and work on my car. And I figured, I'll be all right if I don't go to practice today. And that's what it really was. So it wasn't because of the girl. I just want to put that out there. Bye.
Well, I'm glad you told me that because that's the idea I had in my mind. Scott is with, doing whatever he does, because a lot of Scott Bond's ladies man. That's
unfair. But go ahead, go on, man.
But anyway, like I said, you were such an integral part of that team, and I didn't want to hold you out. But the lesson I was trying to get across was that you've got to depend on each other. Sean Jennings, Fred Matthews, Kyle Anglin, Timmy Riddick, all those guys.
Yeah.
You all depended on each other. Okay? And I depended on all of you. And the fans were looking for the best from you. Those fans supported us tremendously that year. Not that they did in other years, but so it was not just the coaching staff, it was not just the players, it was the entire Montclair High School and then some. Those people who would come from, they didn't go to Montclair High School, they never went to Montclair High School, they would come just to see us. You guys are good, Scott. You guys were great. And so if any part of that whole broke down, we weren't the same team. And I was very disappointed. And what I did because I had to uphold the rules to show everybody. But here's the thing, Scott. If we didn't win that last game, that was it. That would have been our last game.
That was right. That was
it. Yeah. So when finally you did get to the game, I did it more because I could not let the team down. Because by keeping you out the whole game, I would have let them down. Those guys are busting their butts out there, Scott. You know that. You watched.
Remember.
They busted their butts. And I said to myself, okay, I don't even know what I called myself at that time. But anyway, I said, are you going to let these guys, you have a chance. Are you going to bend the rule that you had and put this guy in? are you going to stick to your rule and let everybody else down? I couldn't let everybody else down because then I would have been not the coach I should have been. Putting you on the bench was important. Keeping you there to the very end was important. You learned the lesson. You didn't have to sit out the entire game. You learned the lesson.
Absolutely.
And I remember when you got into the game, the spirits of the team, the spirits of the fans, and I'll bet some of my assistant coaches like Mr. Bowen or whoever. Thank goodness, coach. I'm glad you put Scott in. So, and putting you in the game, that is what we were so high, so lifted that you gave us the energy, Scott, to win that game. And we went on and almost, what was it, double overtime or whatever, being number one or one of the top 5 teams in the country. We should have won that game.
Yeah, we could have.
But, it just didn't go our way. But I was angry at you, but I was proud of you.
Yeah.
Because you showed us and you showed everybody what we.
Yeah, and that's what, of course I was happy to make the dunk and all that kind of stuff, but to know that, like, I kind of got your approval and I made you proud, like, and I made my mom proud, that right there meant everything. And the funny thing is that years later, being down here, I'm actually good friends with Coach Frazier's son.
Oh, okay.
His younger son, Kenny. I don't know how many sons he has. I know he has one on TV, does a lot of television stuff. I can't remember his name off the top of my head, but I'm friends with his other son, Kenny Frazier, and he's a good friend of mine. We actually share the same birthday. Yeah, that's funny. But I'm waiting. I don't know what happened to my other guest. I'm gonna send her a text in a minute to see where she is here. Let me see. This might be her. Hold on. Give me a second here. I'm just gonna call her. We always have some little technical difficulties here, but we're gonna work this thing out. Just a second. Because I want her to be included in the conversation that's about to happen from here. Because she really told me some things.
I'm here. I can't see myself and I can't hear you, but I can see myself on your back door screen.
Okay, I don't see you anywhere, so I'm going to ask you to click off. Yeah, go off and come back on and re-log in and see if that brings you on.
Okay.
Because I just told Coach Lester, I need you. Oh, she hung up. Okay. All right, so one of the things we're going to talk about in a minute, and as you see I got this Mounties shirt on. This is the last time I was in, Montclair, the all years class reunion in 2018. And then I got to hold this up right here. Okay. I just want to be clear on where I stand. But, in talking to Johanna, it was brought to my attention that Coach Lester was the coach at East Orange and had tremendous success at East Orange. And it was a big to-do when you decided to take the job and come to Montclair and everything. And I never knew any of this stuff. I don't know how many of my teammates, how many people I went to school with. Like, I'm not a sports historian, but when I found out, it was kind of like finding out that my old girl used to date somebody I knew. And I was like, hold on, this can't be right. So when Johanna told me that you coached for East Orange, I was shocked, and I had to start doing some research. And I found out that you had tremendous success there. Like, how was it making that transition from East Orange, which was one of Montclair's biggest rivalries too? How was it coming from there to Montclair?
Well, a lot of people saw it as thought it should have been an awkward thing to do. Because when I left East Orange, I went to Atlantic City for 2 years to coach down there. When the casinos were just opening up, I thought that would be a new challenge for me because we had done so many good things at East Orange. I taught there for 8 years, but I coached there for the last 6. And those 6 years, we were in the state finals 5 times, and we missed making it 6 by one game. We won 4 state championships. We won 4 straight county championships, finals every year, won 6 straight sectional championships. We had a lot of good, a lot of success there. So I needed a new challenge, Scott. And I said, well, let me try Atlantic City. Went there, and the talent in Atlantic City was great. It was not a great place for me to live.
Right.
Most people, when they go to Atlantic City, they will be to 3 places. Yes, that's my first team. That was my first team.
I want people to see you over there. That's standing like a gangster. Like, you got swag. This is a whole different person than who coached me. You know what I'm saying? I was just shocked.
Yeah, that was my very first team. And I had me a little afro there because I was never good at growing afros. Had me a little afro there the best I could. But, and that was a game in Montclair. I put my heart into coaching, and it was amazing. But like I was saying, coming back from, I decided after 2 years in Atlantic City, excuse me, I couldn't coach. I didn't like living there. Now, you had to just be there. Most people will go to Atlantic City. You'll be in 3 places. One, they'll be on Atlantic Avenue. That's the main strip where all the buses and stuff run. Then they get closer to the boardwalk. There's Pacific, where the Ditneys run, and everybody, who works in those hotels and casinos, they're jitneying back and forth to work. Then there's a boardwalk. Everybody knows about the boardwalk.
Right.
But then, if you go back a little further, there's a town back there where people live at. Mm-hmm. And most people don't see that town.
Yeah.
When I got there, Scott, it was disheartening at times. When there's a place called a section of Atlantic City called the Inlet. That's going way back away from the casinos. And some of those Black people, Scott, living in shacks.
Yeah.
It was disheartening. And I just couldn't take it. Now, give Atlantic City credit. Once that casino money started coming in, they did tear all that stuff down and build some, very nice housing because they had to. They wanted to bring casino workers and everything in.
Right.
But when I got down there, Scott, it was a shock. I just couldn't believe it. So then in my second year there, I resigned, and I didn't have any place to go. Mm-hmm. I couldn't stay there. So I made some calls to people I knew in North Jersey, and one of my friends who was the assistant principal of East Orange is now the head principal at Clifford Scott. He said, hey, you can come up, you can head coach at Clifford Scott. And so that's where I was supposed to go. I was supposed to be the coach at Clifford Scott, not Montclair.
Right.
So my friends from Montclair, they got to my ear and said, Bob, why don't you just come up and talk to the superintendent? What he has to say. Well, the superintendent of Montclair, Dr. Marks, was very persuasive. Mm-hmm. I said to myself, I'm going to Montclair. And one of the reasons why I left Clifford, I didn't go to Clifford Scott, I came to Montclair. Not only was it more money, Montclair, having played them at least twice a year in my 6 years at East Orange, you actually have some great talent up there.
Right.
Scott, when we played Montclair, and there was one game we left there after winning, and I said to myself, how in the world did we win that game? So going to Montclair was a great experience, but because I knew there was some great talent in Montclair. It required a mental adjustment because Montclair is like most of your Essex County schools, like East Orange or Orange or Irvington. Montclair was a different place mentally. Once I got accustomed to it, Montclair was a wonderful place.
Right. Yeah. Well, I'm glad you came to Montclair. I'm glad you chose us. That's a great thing. I'm gonna reach out to Johanna again and then I'm going to ask you another question. Give me just 1 second.
I hope you can get her, because
Yeah, we have to get her. We're going to get her. We're going to work this out some kind of way.
okay.
Okay, do you have your, well, I don't even see you. If you,
Is her video on?
okay, okay. All right, I'm gonna try and send you an invitation again, and I'm gonna try and send you an invitation again. All right, so let me try that, and you're holding up production here now. We got to get you out the broadcast studio on screen now. You make it look bad, but okay. All right, let me go ahead and try and do this, and let me know what happens. I'll call you back. Bye. All right. I don't know if I'm going to disappear momentarily, but just give me a second here to see if I can invite Miss Johanna Wright back. Come on. What is going on here? I can't get it. Okay, give me just 1 second. I might be making some progress here. Hold on. Okay, sorry for that intermission. I had to send her the link another way, so we're going to see if that works. But I wanted to ask you the question. I know you've had a lot of great players come through your programs, and I feel like a lot of times there are players that you kind of feel like, you at least ask yourself the question, like, could they possibly make it in the NBA? Like, they have talent on that level. For me, we had a star-studded team, in my opinion. I'm not sure if we had people who could have made it to the NBA per se, but Fred Matthews, that's my dude. We call him Will, and I think he had that kind of talent, and could have made it had his knees been better, so forth and so on. My boy Kyle Anglin Smooth, he was a great player. And, outside of that, just the talent we had in general, my boy Sean Jennings, who was the one who kind of inspired me to play basketball in the first place because I was playing football, Mr. Scales. I think he was the principal or vice principal at the high school.
Yeah.
Upon graduating, here we go. Upon graduating, he asked me if I would take a full scholarship to play football because he thought I would be a great football player. And I had to think about it, but in my mind, I was thinking to go to college to play football with people who've been playing football all their life, and then here I am, and they're gonna be hitting nah, I think I'm gonna play that. But anyway, let me bring this phenomenal woman in, Coach Johanna Wright. Oh, there we are.
And they say women talk a lot.
we got a lot to say. We have so much.
My goodness gracious.
Here. Boy. This is phenomenal. I want to I'm not even really sure where to start, but you are a legend in your own right. I know you're among the top 100 winningest coaches in Essex County. I think you're number 70 on that list. And
no, that's not right.
That's not right.
I'm one of the top 99 coaches.
Oh, that's right.
I'm
sorry. That's right. 99. That's right.
State of New Jersey.
That's right. 99. My bad.
You didn't do your homework. You know I'm a teacher.
Oh yeah, I was researching that, but I was so inundated with so many things about your career, so forgive me if I miss up a couple of things. You have to just correct me, as I know you don't have a problem doing. I saw so many things. I saw so many things about how you have inspired so many of your past players. They had so many wonderful things to say, and it seemed like that list could have went on for all of eternity. Person after person after person. You are very close with a lot of people that we know as celebrities. They're just friends for you. Recently learned that Lauren Hill was one of your point guards. So, just jump in and tell us a little bit about, your coaching experience and your career, and tell us what you want us to know about you.
Well, there's very little I want you to know about me, but in terms of basketball and women, I started coaching when basketball for women was in its infancy, for the most part, in the 70s, early 70s, and started my career at Bennett College and HBCU. I was afforded the opportunity to be a player coach. And after playing my freshman year, I decided that coaching was what I wanted to do. And so Coach Christina Kloss gave me an opportunity to be an assistant coach. And, I want to get paid. I didn't get paid for that.
Right.
But it was a lot of fun. And I took that from Bennett on to White Plains High School in White Plains, New York, of course. And stayed there for a number of years and won a couple of championships, and then came back across the bridge. I tried to get a job in Montclair, but unfortunately they didn't think I was good enough.
Well, you showed them, didn't you?
Well, I wouldn't let Montclair beat me.
That's what you said. That's right. That's what you said. So let me ask you a question. Typically, coaching is for a long time, maybe not so much now, but men dominated that coaching position. How was it not only being African American, I like to just say black, but I'm gonna be politically correct and say African American, but being an African American woman at that time period, like, did you have something to prove? Did you have a chip on your shoulder? Like, what was your disposition as you moved into that part of your career?
Well, my whole thing was to be the best and not to let anyone outwork me. And that's what I tried to get across to my girls. Don't let anyone outwork you, as well as the guys who were involved in our program who really had a lot to do with our success. I mean, if they didn't score a bucket against one of the fellows who would scrimmage us, they would score that bucket in the game. If they couldn't keep up, I mean, it took us to another level in terms of playing, because I always played with boys. My older brother was responsible for me. And he played for Johnson C. Smith University. So they used to, take me to play with him, and they would have to choose me up. And after a while, it wasn't like she's the last one. They would absolutely say, we want Johanna. So that's how it started for me. My big brother.
Right. Yeah. So before you came on, I was talking to Coach Lester about the whole East Orange thing and how I didn't know any of this stuff and everything. What specifically do you remember about that time period? Because I know you're like a basketball historian, so you know everything under the sun. What do you remember about that?
Listen. I was so busy worried about me, but everybody knew what was going on when Coach Lester left East Orange, and people said that he showed no mercy. East Orange had that cheer, Bob.
Yes,
The cheer.
mercy. Yes.
EO would show no mercy. Now, when East Orange would come to Montclair to play Montclair, we would roll oranges out on the floor. We do the same thing with Orange. We say, squeeze those oranges.
Now, was this your idea? Because that seemed like something you would do. It seemed like something you would come up with.
No, I don't think. I think it may have been one of the Mortons.
Okay. I was just curious. So let me ask this question.
Anita Mack, I don't know. She was a Pep Squad member.
Let me ask you guys this question. I certainly didn't play for you, but I'm curious to know from each of you who inspired your style of coaching. Because, like, before I played for Coach Lester, I used to see Bobby Knight from Indiana, throwing chairs and doing, I never thought I'd play for a coach like that. I used to see that. Now, I don't think that was his inspiration. I think just his passion for the game. On a couple of occasions in the locker room, it got ugly, but it got our attention. It got us together. So I would like to know who inspired you guys' coaching style. Johanna, you go first.
Well, I guess because I began in the infancy, you sort of had to create your own style. Everybody was starting at the same time.
Right.
With women's basketball. But I can tell you that my style was refined once I began to really become a student of the game. And my husband would sit me down and, we watched film. And he taught me how to look at film differently, not for the enjoyment of it, which
Right.
I still enjoy watching film. I think my daughter Jazz will probably, she could break film down like a fraction.
Right.
But looking at tendencies and things like that, and just, of course, your style and your personnel. You can't win a game without having the correct personnel, and everybody didn't have to be a superstar. I didn't have any real super duper stars, but I had hard workers and kids who were willing to get down and do the things that they needed to do, not only on the court, but in the classroom as well. It makes me think of my grandniece, Jael, who's a senior this year, Jael Hall. Matter of fact, she's in Morristown, North Carolina, and she's a Division I recruit. So, Jael, get out there and do your thing, girl. That's what I'm talking about. She has a 4.8 GPA.
Wow.
So academics were just as important. As a matter of fact, all of my girls scored at least 1,000 on their SATs, and they had a team GPA of around 389, I think it was.
Right.
And that's with all of the years. So if you didn't get a basketball scholarship, you could certainly get one academically. The other thing is it was important to teach the other people who were involved in your program, to show them that there could be things that could happen for them. I know my basketball managers, I've had managers to get full scholarships at Rutgers University playing for Vivian Stringer, Boston College, and we can go on because of the things that they learned within our program. You have teams and then you have programs. So you try and work on being a program, and in building a team, everybody has a part to play.
Right. What about you, Coach Lester?
Well, I had some great coaches in high school, junior college, and college. But actually, I think my style was formed in Newark as a player and then playgrounds, because Newark is a great place. I mean, people don't realize how much talent and how much camaraderie it was in that city. And I emulated people that I knew, watched, got to meet, even if it was only briefly. I picked up things from talking to them. And we started to do a Lonnie story. And I want to go back to that because, like I said, in 1962, Lonnie, I believe it was Lonnie's senior year, and that was my sophomore year, and they were about to play. Although I didn't see the game, they were about to play for the state championship. They were going to play a team called Westview. And Westview had a player by the name of, I believe his name was Bob King. He was 6'10" tall. And everybody was raving about this guy. And so I didn't go see the game, but after the next day I read the paper, and Southside, not Shabazz, Southside won that game. And Ronnie put that 6'10" guy in his back pocket. I mean, the tenacity that you learned in Newark was to win and win with dignity. There were no fights, nothing like that. Guys respected each other. I never forget when we went to, we played Shabazz. They brought us over to, and Shabazz, Southside. They brought us over and we spent the day at Southside and they entertained us. And it was like, it was family almost. And there were basically these schools, Southside, Central, West Side, Week. Barrington was mostly football. East Side had, other sports. In fact, East Side, is that still the only school in North that has an ice hockey team? I mean, the East Side had an ice hockey team back in the 60s. You never heard about that. And Vailsburg was a school up there that nobody knew about.
Yeah.
So, all the guys that I played with in the playgrounds, and once I played for high school, they had this philosophy: win and win with dignity.
Right.
That was my style. And I had everything except one thing. I didn't have that much dignity, but
That's good stuff. Good stuff. Yeah, I grew up and I spent most of my summers in Newark, as my father lived in Newark. So I spent most of my summers in Newark. I want to go back to a very special and significant person in this conversation. Has been mentioned a couple of times, and that would be your husband, Lonnie Wright, who played in the ABA and the AFL. Am I correct?
That's true.
Tell us a little bit about that and how that whole situation affected your life.
Well, the bottom line is that, a job is a job. And I think that when kids go off to college to play on that next level, they become employees. And that's why I think that they should be paid.
Absolutely.
But Lonnie was a superhuman, I would think. And that's probably why he's no longer here. He played 4 sports in high school and was probably All-American and all. And he was recruited heavily in football and basketball, track, and was offered a place on the Yankees or Mets farm team from high school, from baseball. And there were lots of stories and legends. But the bottom line is he just worked hard. He didn't let anybody, really outwork. You control that part of your life. Your parents control a lot.
Right.
But you control how hard you're willing to work at something. And so he worked really, really hard, and he ended up at Colorado State only because Colorado State, unlike Notre Dame and Ohio State and places like that, Colorado State talked about him graduating college. And they were the only coaches that came in and talked about that. And that's how people always wondered how he ended up at Colorado State.
Right.
After being so heavily recruited in 2 major sports. And the whole thing came along with the football. He did not play football in college. Most people thought that he played football and basketball in college, but he played basketball.
Okay.
And he knew he was going to be drafted, in basketball. And so some things had come out from the Dallas Cowboys, who actually drafted him. And so he figured he'd take the money and run, a young, naive guy.
Right.
So they gave him the bonus, but he ended up making the team. And I can remember him telling me that when he went out on that field, he had on everything that Wilson made. So he went out looking like the Michelin Man, you know. And slowly but surely, he shed all of the pads and things like that, and wound up leading the league in interceptions. He played defensive back. And he played basketball and football in the same season, going from one, you know, to the other. And no one has ever played football and basketball. You have people play basketball and baseball or football and baseball, but he's the only person to do basketball and football and in the same season. So that's how that happened.
Yeah, that's a phenomenal story. Coach, did you want to say something about that?
One thing. This happened about a month ago. You remember that guy I was telling you about, Aaron Reddick, who does a lot of Facebook stuff,
Right.
With basketball and all sports, boxing and everything, and he loves Newark athletes. But one of the people who participated in one of the conversations, I can't remember his name, but he went to Southside, and he's a lawyer. I think he knew Lonnie, and he is a lawyer for the housing authority in the city of Newark. And now Lonnie worked at the medical school down in Newark. And he was something I didn't know. This gentleman, who was a lawyer himself, told me that, because we talked about Lonnie and how great he was, and he said Lonnie was also a great mentor. He was a mentor to my daughter, who was at the medical school, and she is now a doctor herself. Wow. And she gave so much credit to Lonnie for being this, you know, great mentor. Lonnie, like I said, I wasn't the best of friends with Lonnie because I don't know if he's a little older than I was, but I knew of Lonnie, and he was like a superhero. Him, Cleo Hill, were superheroes in Newark.
Cleo, yes.
Yeah.
Yes. As a matter of fact, yeah.
Yeah. And just the way he spoke about Lonnie, you could tell he had so much admiration for him. And so many people did that come from the city of Newark. And like Lonnie is a hero. Cleo was a hero. There's some others. But I'm just glad to, you know, when I found out that Johanna was Lonnie Wright's husband, I said, "Oh my goodness!" I said,
that was a big secret. Nobody knew. It was like the strangest thing. And then they used to say, "Oh, you're Lonnie Wright's wife," and then they began to say to him, "Oh, you're Johanna's husband." But he did at the medical school. He's responsible for over 2,500 minority medical physicians in this country and around the world. He was responsible for the recruitment and retention of black medical students. And that was very important to him. I can remember our neighbor across the street when he passed. He didn't realize that Lonnie was Lonnie, but they would go out, they would cut grass, talk to one another, hang out and stuff. And when he passed, he read the articles that were going around in the newspapers and, you know, on television and stuff. And he could not believe that Lonnie was the Lonnie. He said his father used to take him to see him play when he was little. And he had a story when he had come to the Garden to play. All of these people had gone around him, and he was this little kid standing there. And Lonnie went through the crowd and went over to him and gave him an autograph and gave him some, I don't know what it was, but he said never forgot it. But he never knew that Lonnie was Lonnie. All of that time that he lived here, he broke down. He cried like a baby. He couldn't believe it because all he talked about was his medical students and doing better academically and being afforded the opportunities to do the things that you need to do.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And, you know, it's funny because as we talked about some of that last night, Johanna, I didn't realize that your husband worked in Newark at that facility. And my dad, who also played basketball, worked there for a long time. And I feel like my father kept telling me stories about this man named Lonnie that I should talk to and I should get to know, whatever, that was walking around the building at different times. And, you know, I was a little kid, you know, that was before I even got into basketball like that. So I just wanted to play pool and ping pong. And now that you tell me that, it again reminds me of how small the world really is. You know,
it really is. Yeah. He's a great man. I lucked out. I have to tell all my other friends know that I lucked out. And my mother told him that, you know, he was certainly an angel, but he told me he was 6'8" until he married me, and he shrunk to 6'2".
and you know what? I believe that too. I do believe that. I wanted to ask you. You mentioned your daughter earlier. and your
Jasmine.
daughter. And I know she was a star player at Columbia,
Yes.
and I think she went on to be a great player at Syracuse University, and now a head coach somewhere. Is that right?
Well, she coached up until last year. She
Last
coached
year,
for a while.
okay.
She started her coaching career at Marist College after leaving Syracuse. You know, she told me, she says, Mom, I'm going to coach on the college level. I said, well, Jazz, is not that easy. And the next thing I know, you know, I said, you have to get a grad assistantship or something like that. You know, maybe you can work out, talk to the coaches. And next thing I know, she gives me a call. She's like, well, I got the job at Marist. And, you know, they went to the dance, they went to the tournament. And so I talked her into coming home. And so she came back, and she took over when I retired. She became the third head coach in Columbia's history for girls basketball. And she teaches science. She still teaches science. She teaches in Hackensack now. She left the district last year.
Okay.
After 16 years in South North. That's me. Oh my goodness.
I love this picture right here. Can you guys see that good? Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful.
Oh, it's in my younger day.
You're looking great. You're looking great.
Thank you. Thank you.
So, it's so many things I want to ask, but you know, I try not to be too long-winded on this show because people's attention span don't always last past an hour, so we're getting close to that time. But I know you've had a tremendous effect on your daughter. Coach, real quick, I'd like to know, you know, I remember seeing your sons, you know, around quite often at the games, at the practices and everything. So they grew up around you, seeing you in this role, just as my son sees me in certain roles. And I know those situations have impacts on our children. How have those situations and being in that vicinity impacted your two boys?
Well, I don't know. But I have 3 kids. I have a daughter who is she's
That's
older.
right. I'm sorry, I forgot about your daughter.
She is a nurse down here in Atlanta, in the Emory medical system, and she's been, you know, going through some things because of the impact of COVID-19 down here.
Right.
And you know, she's working, you know, really, really hard. But my oldest son, he is now a chiropractor. He played baseball. He didn't play basketball.
Okay.
I don't know if I frightened him into not wanting to play basketball because he didn't want to play for anybody like me. And my youngest son, he played basketball, and he played baseball. And I thought he might have had a great career in baseball, but he loved basketball more. And he went to Rutgers, Newark, and he's living out in Oklahoma now. He's married and doing things in real estate. My son's still in New Jersey. He works in the medical field. And as I said, my youngest son is out in Oklahoma. But you know, John, I don't know, and I want to ask you. It seems like you have great relationships with your daughter. I had an issue because I was always away from home. I was either scouting or coaching or doing something. I actually had a period there where I lost, you know, my kids. There was just a gap there.
Mm-hmm.
Being a parent and a coach, how did you find it? I found it very difficult. How did you find it?
It was sort of easy for me because I basically didn't trust anyone except my mother to watch my daughter. So she was with me all the time. And if she wasn't with me, she was either with her babysitters that I trusted implicitly, who were my former students. She was either with Lauren, who was her babysitter, Kim, AJ Calloway, a whole bunch of them, Sharon Anderson. They all watched out for. These are all my basketball players, Willa, Sue, so many. And when you're looking at those players, you know, it's really important. But I would pick her up from school, bring her to practice. She was a gym rat. When she was in middle school, she was teaching my forwards how to drop step and do power moves because she was at practice every day. And so she was learning, you know, the game. And I think the only reason she really played so hard is we told her if she got a scholarship, she'd get a car.
Oh, okay.
And I think that did it. And if you got good grades, you got other kinds of things. But she was afforded the opportunities that a lot of kids were not afforded. Everybody doesn't have a Johanna Wright and a Lonnie Wright. But the thing that I had to be careful of was when we would come home, you know, nobody had to come home with the coach, right?
Mhm.
So I had to make those separations. If she wanted to talk about ball, we talk about it. But she generally talked about those things with her dad, and they would do things. So I don't know if she feel the same way, but I had a lot of fun with her running around the gym and being with me. I mean, you know,
That's great.
she was just always there. And so that was really important. And if I had to go away, because basketball wasn't the only thing that I coached, and Lonnie was there. So he had a lot of fun with her too. I think they were closer growing up than she and I were. She's a real daddy's girl. And he had her convinced that she looked just like him. The girl looks just like her mother.
Just like you.
But we had such, the other thing is that it was the other girls that were, you know, Stacy and, you know, and Zai and Lauren and all those girls that hung out with her, her friends, her teammates. They were always together. AAU, you know, there were lots of things to do. Vacations, we vacationed together. Shakaya lived down the corner. Everybody was around, you know, everybody was around. And now I'm looking at my grandnephew, Prince, who will be playing for East Orange one day. And I'm going to tell you, Prince has game. He's going into 6th grade, and Auntie Cousin Jazz is going to have him right.
What's that movie? He got game, so he's got it.
Yes, yes. Shout out, Prince.
Well, look, I don't know where Montclair and their basketball team is at this point, but once again, I got to just put this up here. All right. I just got to put that up there, showing my alma mater some love there.
Well, I'd like to show, you know, the bottom line is none of us got here where we are alone. I had a terrific group of people around me, my coaching staff, Mr. P, Mr. C, Mr. Taylor. There were so many, you know, Bianca Brown. I mean, everybody came through. I mean, Fee, there were so many people who meant so much to us. And you know, we lost Jerry Paradiso and Mr. Palmer. May they rest in peace. But Mr. P was with me my entire career at Columbia High School. And I can say that he was really responsible for the academic success of our players. He and Mr. C, who tutored them infinitely, I mean, forever, and made sure that things were straight, because the girls would go to them. I wasn't one of those come-to coaches, because no nonsense, you know, give it to you straight.
Yeah.
You know, so I was kind of tough.
I saw that thing on your daughter, Jasmine. She says, I look like him. Probably talk about her father.
And I want to urge everybody to please vote. Get out and vote. Do your census.
Yes.
Do things that are necessary. And I would shout out to my Pastor Maria. You lit them up today, Pastor Maria, if you're on. And even if you're not on, you killed it. Welcome back from vacation.
Okay, so look, I want to just touch on a couple things before we go, because the Lions Den is, I like to relate everything that we do in the Lions Den to mental health. And we deal with a lot of men's mental health, because men, we typically don't deal with our mental health, and it's very important that we start doing just such. But in high school sports, I know sports keeps a lot of kids from taking the wrong path in a lot of instances. And it helps some kids cope with things that are not what they should be outside of their sports career, like their home life. It helps balance things out sometimes. What do you guys think? Like, how do you put mental health in sport? Like, how does that mesh together for you?
It's you know, the bottom line is that everybody needs to take care of their mental health as well as their physical health. We all have issues at one time or another. And unfortunately, in terms of, you know, African Americans, we've never looked to go to seek help in terms of therapists and seeking those things. And we're getting better now, because we're all in those medical fields, and things are becoming more acceptable now. You know, suicide is a permanent solution to a temporary problem.
Right.
And so if we can get to those problems and talk, communication is really, really, really important.
Right.
And if we can't communicate and know how to communicate, so you got to talk so kids will listen, and you have to listen so the kids will talk.
Right. Coach Lester, you want to add on to that?
Yeah, Scott, when I was coaching, no matter where I was coaching, one of the three schools, you weren't just a coach. You dealt with mental health issues with your players. You were also their teacher and their counselor. We had so many hats. We wore so many hats, had so many roles, and it's very difficult. And sometimes I would ask myself, who's going to give therapy to the therapist? Because sometimes we needed it. I know I had
Absolutely.
a difficult time sometimes,
Yeah.
doing those necessary things to other people's children, but they were my children also. So I did it. But sometimes we needed a little help. I know a lot of times I went home and, my wife had to take care of me, because
Right.
it was extremely important. So we wore a lot of hats when we did some coaching.
Yeah.
You
Well,
just basically do the best you can. Nobody's perfect. And we're going to, that's why they have erasers on pencils. We all make mistakes. I know I've grown during my coaching career and sort of chilled out and relaxed as the time went on, and I became more comfortable. Even in coaching, like, huge games, whether it was, county games, which, Bob, I'm sure you'll agree, the county games to me were more important and more exciting than state games, because whoever was the king or the queen of Essex County College, I mean, we just repped. That's just the way it was. And I'm happy to see a lot of the former players here in the county that are coaching now and have had great careers. Felicia Oliver, Connice, Jay. I mean, there's so many girls are coaching now. I'm so excited, for them to come home and do this. I have a couple of players, Nerlin and Jessica Simmons, and them and one Sierra. They're coaching on the college level and doing great things and continuing that tradition. I have another kid, Mobolaji Akiyodi, who started her own foundation, Hope for Girls, in Nigeria, and has made a huge impact on those girls when she went over as part of the Nigerian Olympic team. So when I look at the, and I'm sure Bob feels the same way, I'm listening to the wonderful things that his children are doing. When you're looking at what your former players, I think the most important thing is what they're doing now, and knowing that there's no end to what they can become and what they can do. And I'm really, really proud of the girls who came under my charge, and the boys, because they were there too. And I'm shout out to Jamal Dash out there, assistant coach with the LA Sparks. One of our guy players, and began training the girls, even, at Columbia High School, went out to California seeking a dream and ended up training a lot of NBA players and their kids, and ended up as, with the job, with the long story short, with the LA Sparks. So you can do and be anything you want to be. And athletics and basketball is just a means to an end.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely.
I don't want to give you a shout out for publishing a book. That's great, man.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Your book again, Scott. Let everybody see your book. Could you show us?
Yeah. I've been putting it up on the screen.
I'm proud of you, man.
Trust the process.
Embrace the journey.
Bill Dillon, trust the process. I want everybody to go out and get that book.
Well, I appreciate that. I wanted to just touch on something you guys said a little ways back when we were talking about how did your coaching careers affect your children. And what I have learned is that at some point, someone has to make pretty major sacrifices so that their children can have a better life. And you guys have made sacrifices for thousands to have better lives, and you sharing your wisdom and taking so many young men and women personally under your wing, mentoring them, helping to guide them in the right direction, and just being there for them. Because a lot of times players will tell their coaches things that they will never tell their parents.
That's right.
So you guys certainly serve a much greater purpose than just winning games. And we appreciate that.
You really, that's really good there. And listen, I know I'm doing a lot of shout outs because that's what I do. And I want to shout out my You Already Know crew. Y'all know who you are.
I love them. You already know, crew. I love all you guys.
You know that's right. You better let them know. Let them know, Scott.
Look, y'all got to show me love back. Share this video. Get people to subscribe to this YouTube channel because we really are trying to help people. And our motto, once again, is we are restoring kings and queens one conversation at a time.
And Marvin Byers is trying to get in touch with you, Bob.
Marvin?
Yes. He's online here. I think he's going to send you a note.
Okay.
But I know you don't really know him. You don't have to act like it you do. I know you don't know him.
You know what, Joy?
He was
I
over
know
on Sussex Avenue.
Sussex Avenue.
Yes, and he went to arts. Yes.
Man, oh, you taking me way back now, Sussex Avenue. Oh,
yes, I am.
But you know, I didn't realize that there's so many people who know you that you may not have had a relationship with or knew them, but you know, when you talk to them, they say things like, you know, Coach, thank you for helping me. And I'm saying, how did I help you? What did I do? You didn't pay for me. You just made me proud for what you brought to our school system and to our city. So there's a lot of people that know us, Johanna. There's a lot of people that know you, Scott, and what you did. You helped make people's lives better. And they'll never, ever forget that. 50 years later, people come and tell me, I appreciate what you did. You made my life a little bit better. You gave me a little bit of incentive to do greater things. And that's what it's all about.
Yeah, and that's why it's really important what you say to children and how you say it.
Absolutely.
You can form their lives and change things, but it's really important to be kind and to be encouraging and not discouraging and to fight for our children, because education isn't where it should be today. We're going to all have to fight, you know. And shout out to Sisters in the Skies. Those are the ladies who fly airplanes, who are affording opportunities for young girls to learn how to fly in middle school and high school. Shout out to Tara Wright and Sisters of the Skies. I want y'all to look that up and give some money. Help them out.
Well, we might have
to have again, Sisters of the Skies. And I will shout out my brother Les, who's doing some hard work with kids who are suicidal and things like that. Go to the Shaka Foundation. That's where our kids can get some help for their mental illness and issues that are that they're dealing with now. Les Franklin and the Shaka Foundation, located in Denver, Colorado. They're doing great work and great things. I'm so proud of my big brother. I don't know what to do.
Well, you have to put me in touch with some of those people, because I would love to have them come on the lines then and talk, you know, a little bit more in depth about what those organizations are. I think this is who you were just telling Coach Lester was trying to get in touch with him. Is that right, Marvin Byers?
Look at there's Marvin Byers now on the. There you go. Bill Alexander. Oh my goodness, he was one of my mentors, Mr. Alexander. I'll never forget. And his daughter Donna Alexander, who went to East Orange High School, she became the first African American to be a Wright girl. Wright shampoo, and oh man, it's whew. Oh boy.
And let's not forget about Vanessa Watson, who is an outstanding coach. You might want to get her on here. She's at Bloomfield College now. She was a Shabazz coach, doing all kinds of things.
Oh, Vanessa was fantastic.
Yes. Shirley Lawrence, shout out to you, my sister. I love you. Bloomfield Tech, Aaliyah and the crew. But I mean, all these things are just coming back in my head. And of course, y'all all know my other daughter is Stacy, so you know, Stacy Townsend. So that's how that goes, you know. And shout out to my grandson Joe, headed up to Taft, so prep school.
You know, we know, you know,
just graduated from Del Barton. We're excited about him playing football and basketball.
Well, I'm sure he has the bloodline to be successful in itself.
He got the line, period. He gonna make some money moves.
Well, that's engineering. That's fantastic, good stuff. Well, look, I have to just say once again in closing that it has been my esteemed pleasure to have two legendary greats that are walking about us alive and well and looking fantastic and representing very, very well. Like, you guys have to continue to be celebrated while you're alive and well, because we need more people like you. And, you know, it's not a lot of people out here that's like you. So I want to thank both of you guys from the bottom of my heart. And maybe we'll even have you back again and we can talk some more, because it's a whole lot of stuff we didn't get a chance to cover.
That's right.
We're going to have to come back and do this again. I've been getting a lot of good comments. I think we're going to get a lot of views on this. And I think we're going to get some requests that I bring you two legends back. So,
well, you're going to have to bring me back, because I felt kind of shortchanged. I felt like I wasn't a part of this.
Well, we were trying to get you, but you got out the studio.
No, y'all were talking too long. Y'all froze my screen. I was
you froze your screen.
I was in the call. Y'all men were yapping. Don't you ever talk about women talk about serious stuff that we have to take care of. Y'all were just yapping, having a good time, but I was enjoying the silence.
Well, you know, we're gonna definitely have you back, because I want to talk more about Black women, strong Black women, and that's everything that you exemplify and more. So we're gonna definitely make that happen.
Well, thank you, and Kim Wright, White Wright, I want to thank you for your devotions to me every morning. I love it.
Well, all right. Thank you very much. Enjoy the rest of your weekend, your afternoon, and I will talk to you guys soon.
I gotta say hi to Auntie Clarice. I hope you're feeling better. My nephew Dwight, Reggie, and everybody up there. Y'all in Phillipsburg. I don't know why y'all all the way up there.
All right.
Anyway, I got all my stuff in, even though, you know, I had to slide it all in because, you know, everybody wants shout outs, and I'm sure you can have a record numbers today.
That's fantastic. That's fantastic. But we know you know everybody under the sun, so I know you can do shout outs all day long.
No, I want to shout out you, Scott, because, you know, y'all don't know this is my godson. That's why he treated me like this. I want y'all to know that. He's all handsome and everything. He got his good looks from Auntie.
All right, you're making me blush. You're making me blush. All right, we got to go. But again, I thank you all. And I love you both, and you have a great rest of your day.
Thank you. Thank you. It's good to see you, Bob. Listen,
bye, Johanna.
Give me Bob's digits, because everybody's asking me. They want to get in touch with him, and I'm going to let him know. I'll send him the numbers if they want, if he wants to get in touch with them.
Okay.
All right. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed that phenomenal conversation with those two living legends. I also want to put this up here for the Montclair folks. You got to get this Montclair swag shirt right here. This is the hoodie. It has "Drink the Water." You see that? Drink the water. That's why, you know, those of us from Montclair, you know, move the way we move. It also represents that 07042 zip code there. I know Montclair, Upper Montclair has your own 07043 or something like that, but, you know, it is what it is. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed that. It was a wonderful show. I thoroughly enjoyed it. Those are two people that are very near and dear to my heart. And they're definitely making a positive difference in our communities and throughout the world in some cases. So until next time, I'm going to go. I hope you guys enjoy the rest of your Sunday afternoon. Thanks again for tuning into the Lion's Den, where we are restoring kings and queens, one conversation at a time. Peace.